When Karen ordered that tree to be cut, she thought she was winning the battle. But that tree was about to bring her downfall. It started like any other bright Saturday morning in the quiet, suburban neighborhood of Oak Ridge Hills. Birds sang softly, sunlight painted the lawns gold, and Mr. Parker sat in his backyard enjoying coffee beside the tall cedar tree his late father had planted 30 years ago. That tree wasn't just wood and leaves. It was a memory of family, love, and decades of peace. Across the street, however, HOA board member Karen Hill, blonde bob haircut, sunglasses even in the shade, and an attitude that could sour milk, was not feeling the peace. For weeks, she'd complained that Mr. Parker's cedar tree leaned dangerously toward her property line. In reality, it didn't even touch her fence. But Karen didn't like anything she couldn't control. She'd already made half the neighborhood miserable with her letters about trash cans left out too long and paint colors violating HOA guidelines. The tree, for her, was just another symbol of defiance she couldn't tolerate. That morning, she stormed into Parker's yard uninvited, her clipboard tucked under her arm. "Mr. Parker," she said sharply, "that tree violates the neighborhood safety code. If it falls, it'll damage my roof. You need to have it removed." Parker, calm but firm, shook his head. "That tree has stood here longer than any of us, Karen. It's perfectly healthy. I even had an arborist check it last month." But Karen wasn't used to hearing the word no. She flipped her sunglasses up, glaring at him. "If you don't handle it, I'll take it to the HOA board." Parker sighed. "Do what you must." He turned away, not realizing that those words would start a chain of events that would change everything. By Monday, Karen was already scheming. She drafted fake HOA documents claiming urgent removal authorization and called a local tree-cutting crew, telling them she had board approval to take down a hazardous tree. The crew, assuming it was legitimate, scheduled the job for the next night. Tuesday morning, Parker left early for work, unaware of what was coming. Just before dawn, the rumble of a pickup truck broke the silence. 3 men stepped out with chainsaws and headlamps. The neighborhood was asleep as they surrounded the old cedar, their blades flashing silver in the moonlight. By sunrise, the tree that had stood proudly for 3 decades was nothing but a pile of logs. When Parker returned home, his heart froze. The yard looked naked, empty, violated. The cedar lay in pieces, sawdust glimmering on the grass like ashes. He dropped his coffee cup, staring in disbelief. "Who did this?" he whispered. That's when his neighbor, Lisa from across the street, came running over, her phone shaking in her hand. "Karen had it cut last night," she gasped. She told everyone it was HOA approved. "I even filmed the trucks leaving." Parker's stomach turned. Rage built behind his eyes, but he didn't yell. Instead, he walked quietly to the stump, kneeling beside it. His fingers brushed the rough, splintered wood. It still smelled of sap and earth, freshly murdered life. He stood up slowly, his expression calm but his resolve hardening. "All right, Karen," he muttered under his breath. "You've gone too far this time." He didn't know it yet. But justice had already started moving in the shadows, carried by whispers, camera footage, and the silent witnesses of Oak Ridge Hills. Karen strutted around the neighborhood for the next 2 days, proud of herself like she'd saved the world from a disaster. "You're welcome," she told neighbors, flashing that smug smile. That tree was dangerous. "I did what the HOA should have done months ago." But whispers began to spread. People were uneasy. Lisa uploaded her video to the community forum, showing Karen standing beside the tree-cutting truck with a fake permit in hand. Within hours, it went viral in the HOA chat. The next morning, Karen stormed into the HOA meeting room, acting like she still held control. "Before we start," she said, "I want to file a complaint against Mr. Parker for aggressive behavior." But Parker was already there, calm and silent, holding his phone. "Actually," he said, "I'd like to show something first." He played the footage Lisa had recorded. Karen's voice, clear as day. "Cut the whole thing down before sunrise." The HOA approved it. The room went dead silent. One of the board members leaned forward. "Karen, we never approved anything." Her face drained of color. This is taken out of context." She sputtered, but it was too late. The HOA president, A stern retired judge said flatly, "You falsified documents and destroyed private property. You'll be fined, and we're reporting this to local authorities." For the first time, Karen's confidence cracked. "You can't do this to me." "I was protecting the neighborhood," she screamed, slamming her papers on the table. But no one believed her anymore. News traveled fast, and by evening, the entire community was talking. Parker didn't celebrate. He simply filed a legal complaint and went home. Days later, as if nature itself wanted to finish the story, a heavy thunderstorm rolled through Oak Ridge Hills. Wind howled across the empty space where the cedar once stood. Karen's house, unshielded by the tree that once stood between their yards, took the full brunt of the storm. A lightning strike hit the power pole beside her driveway, sending sparks flying. The pole cracked, crashing down onto her freshly paved fence. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Neighbors watched from their porches as emergency crews worked through the rain. Lisa whispered, "That tree just got its revenge." The next morning, the air smelled like wet earth and karma. Karen's yard was a mess, her fence destroyed, her reputation worse. She resigned from the HOA a week later, muttering about ungrateful people and bad luck. Mr. Parker, however, quietly planted a new sapling in the same spot where the cedar once stood. As he patted the soil around its roots, he smiled faintly. "You can't kill what stands for truth," he said softly. The camera zooms out, the neighborhood calm again, sunlight filtering through clouds, the small sapling swaying gently in the breeze. That's when the narrator's voice cuts in. Sometimes nature doesn't need our courts to deliver justice. It just waits, and then it remembers.